Welcome to 40K Data Slate Review. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Kataphron Destroyers, a part of the Adeptus Mechanicus faction.
40K Data Slate Review.
Kataphron Destroyers are one of 4 troop options for the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are the more expensive troops compared with their Skitarii equivalent. They are about 5 times more points for either unit at bare minimum. So let's take a look at why they're so much more, and if it's worth it. Destroyers are a bit slower than average with a 5-inch movement and have a mediocre 4-up ballistic skill. Toughness 5, 3 wounds, 4-up save, 6-up invulnerable. The battle servitors are tough. Don't get these things stuck in combat though, their range weapons are their strong point. Destroyers can choose one of 2 main weapons and one of 2 secondary weapons. The main weapon can be a heavy grav cannon or plasma culverin. The second weapon can either be the Cognus Flamer or Phosphor Blaster. The difference in points between weapon options is negligible. You're not going to save many points by taking the cheaper option. The Phosphor Blaster is pretty middling. A rapid-fire 24-inch weapon with strength 5 and AP 1. Like other Phosphor weapons, it ignores cover. The Cognus Flamer is a normal flamer in all regards except for its rule that allows it to roll 2 dice when firing Overwatch and choose the highest. This is actually quite a nice deterrent against enemy chargers. The Cognus Flamer is a bit better in most cases you can spare a handful of points. The heavy grav cannon is one of its main weapons and offers 5 shots at 30 inches with strength 5 and AP 3. Against enemies with a 3-up save or better, the weapon does D3 damage. It seems many people who played 7th edition are disappointed with grav weapons in 8th, but the Destroyer's grav cannons are still pretty powerful weapons. In addition, with all the Primaris Marines running around, the grav becomes even better. The Plasma Culverin is also a potent choice in certain cases. This weapon has a 36-inch range and D6 shots. Like other plasma weapons, the Culverin has 2 profiles. One mode shoots at strength 7, AP 3, damage 1, while the supercharged mode fires at strength 8, AP 3, 2 damage, with the regular downside of slaying the model on a hit roll of 1. There are a few ways to mitigate this danger, so the Culverin is not as dangerous as it sounds, though losing a single destroyer to a bad roll is pretty catastrophic. Like all AdMech units, the Kataphron benefit from Canticles of the Omnissiah. Shroud Psalm is an unsurprisingly powerful enhancement for the battle servitors. But like any other shooting unit, Benediction of the Omnissiah can also be helpful. Incantation of the Iron Soul can also be used to great effect with a large unit of the battle servitors. Losing destroyers to desertion is quite possible with their leadership of 7. The other special rule Kataphrons come with allows them to ignore the penalty for moving and shooting heavy weapons, but they only advance D3 inches. The unit can be fielded with between 3 and 12 models. Destroyers are obviously a unit that will sit back and shoot, hopefully on an objective and hopefully hanging around a Dominus or Call. Speaking of these two, they can both repair Kataphron D3 wounds. Only one Arcana Mechanicum relic is really worth pairing with the Destroyers, and that's Raiment of the Technomartyr. This pairs best with Destroyers that are equipped with grav cannons. This makes hits of 6 in Overwatch allow the AdMech player to roll another attack. Stratagems offer a bit more synergies to the battle servitors. Elimination Volley is the most obvious one. This adds 1 to hit in the shooting phase as long as they are within 6 inches of a unit of Castellan robots, who also get the same bonus. This stratagem combos perfectly with Plasma Culverins, mitigating all damage from supercharging the weapon. Acquisition at any cost can be helpful to hold an objective. Combined with Shroud Psalm, the Destroyers would have a 2-up save. The Info Slave Skull is another stratagem for the Kataphron. This allows them to fire at a unit that deploy within 12 inches of them at -1 to hit. Destroyers are one of the better units AdMech has to use this stratagem with. A large unit can be spread out on the outside of the AdMech force to defend from reserves. Unfortunately, this does make the servitors hit on 5s, so a small unit may not get too many hits with anything but Phosphor Blasters and heavy grav cannons. This obviously does make the Phosphor a bit more desirable, as the Cognus Flare would be out of range from this stratagem. On the downside, this makes supercharging Plasma extremely dangerous. Quite a few Forge Worlds would benefit the Destroyers. Mars is the obvious choice for any AdMech unit. Belisarius Call doesn't disappoint and is especially rewarding with Kataphron since they are hitting on 4s. While an Admech player will probably have better targets for Wrath of Mars, grab cannons and flamers can deal a decent amount of mortal wounds. Agrippa in the Forge world has a few synergies with Destroyers. Their Dogma allows Overwatch on 5s. Destroyers with Cognos Flamers and heavy grav cannons are going to land quite a few Overwatch hits. Combined with Raymond of the Technomartyr for even more Overwatch attacks to land. Agrippa's stratagem is written to specifically work with Servitors. Depending on how big the unit is, you can pay 2 or 3 command points to redeploy the Servitors at full strength, 6 inches from your deployment zone. This only works on units between 3 and 6 models. Feel free to be fairly aggressive with them since they can move and shoot and then come back to life. But be sure to not overextend them though, as they are expensive to lose a full unit. Ryza is an uncommon faction, but surprisingly one of the most directly gainful to destroyers with plasma culverins. The Forge World stratagem adds +1 to wound and damage. Combined with Elimination Volley, Supercharged Plasma would be hitting on 3s, wounding most units on 2s, and dealing 3 damage, without the downside of overheating. On a large unit of destroyers, this would be an extremely powerful salvo. I can picture a small detachment being used just to bring a big unit of these models, possibly pairing with Castellan robots with fists for Elimination Volley to make use of the Ryza's Dogma. In all, destroyers fit into quite a few army builds, and since they are troops, they become even more easy to fit into a detachment. On the flip side, destroyers are fairly expensive. This all earns the destroyers a 3 out of 5. What do you think of the destroyers? Which weapons do you equip them with? What unit would you like to see reviewed on the channel? Leave your answers in the comments, and thanks for watching.